have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Around Our Area continues now on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Your reader for this hour is Sally Herzog. And we go to the Southtowns Bee, and this is the West Seneca, Orchard Park, and East Aurora newspapers. And it's the Thursday, February 19th, 2026 edition. We go to our first article. In the running, Dixon enters race for New York State Assembly 142. This is by Eric Kepler. After having done pretty much everything he says he set out to do as West Seneca supervisor, Gary Dixon is looking to level up in the New York State political landscape by announcing his candidacy in November's race for the New York State Assembly's 142nd District on the Republican ticket. After over 6 years in West Seneca, I feel like I've accomplished all the major things that I wanted to accomplish. Our finances are in good shape, and economic development is doing well, Dixon said on Monday. I get called a lot by residents about things that the town has no control over: state roads, the cost and reliability of electricity, and just in general, the cost of living. Now, I want to help West Seneca and Orchard Park and South Buffalo at the state level. Assembly District 142, currently represented by Democrat Patrick Burke, includes parts of South Buffalo, the city of Lackawanna, the towns of West Seneca, and Orchard Park in Erie County. Burke was elected to the Assembly in November of 2018 and has since been re-elected, including in the general election in November of 2024. New York Assembly members serve 2-year terms. All 150 members of the Assembly are elected every 2 years, and there are currently no term limits imposed on these positions. The terms run concurrent with the election held in even-numbered years. You're one of 150 people, and you advocate for your district, and you advocate for the state as a whole, trying to build coalition and trying to get the word out to the public, Dixon said. I think municipalities have been getting the shaft for many years, and state aid to municipalities has not increased in keeping with inflation. And of course, the mandates that are imposed by the state are hurting us. The state seems to be driven by New York City, and I don't think that our current representatives really represent the values of our district. In particular, Dixon took aim at the state regulations that will mandate all electric vehicles and buildings in the next few years. With a power grid that is already suspect, this has vexed West Seneca lawmakers and cost the town some development from people who weren't comfortable committing to an all-electric building. Dixon pointed to statistics from a New York Independent System Operation, which monitors electricity and power production in New York State. Numbers suggest that upstate New York is already almost 90% emission-free. Upstate is already green, Dixon said. It's downstate, particularly New York City, that is powered by oil or gas or carbon-emitting plants. Don't get me wrong, I drive a Tesla. I'm not against electricity, but it has to be done responsibly, and you shouldn't force it down people's throats. We need to roll back some of the energy mandates. Dixon was born in Los Angeles, California. He served in the U.S. Army from 78 until 85, earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland in 1986, and a graduate degree in public policy from George Mason University in 2014. He has served on the boards of the Family Justice Center, a nonprofit combating domestic violence, and the Buffalo Niagara Coalition for Open Government. He is a member of the West Seneca Chamber of Commerce, the West Seneca Historical Society, and the West Seneca Rotary Club. Dixon was elected West Seneca Town Supervisor in November of 2019 general election, becoming the first Republican in 50 years to win the position. He was re-elected for a second term in November of 2023, with his current term for that office expiring at the end of 2027. As West Seneca adopted term limits during his tenure, he is not eligible to run for the position again. We do have term limits, and I want to bring term limits to this state also, Dixon said. So a lot of things that were in my goals in West Seneca are similar to my goals for New York State. Good government, including term limits, economic development, which means lowering and controlling taxes, and sticking to a budget, because we have to live within our means. The New York State Assembly plays a critical role in taxation, holding the power to propose, negotiate, and pass legislation on income taxes, sales taxes, and property tax credits as part of the annual state budget process. In a general election like this one, it's more about reaching out to everybody to present a vision and how I will represent New York's values, and I will vote Western New York values, Dixon said. I will try my best to work with other people throughout the state to push back on some of the initiatives from New York City. This endeavor marks Dixon's second attempt at a higher office. He ran in April of 2024 in a special election for New York's 26th congressional district, after that seat in the U.S. House of Representatives was vacated by Brian Higgins, who had retired 2 months earlier. Democrat Tim Kennedy won that race with roughly 70% of the votes. Dixon knew beforehand that the congressional race might be challenging because of the political makeup of that district. This time, he feels the contest will be much more favorable. If anything, this area favors me, Dixon said. Starting with West Seneca, which is the largest in the district, I won 2 elections in a row, and we have a fully Republican town board. Orchard Park has more registered Republicans than Democrats. South Buffalo is my opponent's biggest stronghold, but like West Seneca, just because there are more Democrats there, it doesn't mean that they share the values of New York City, like my opponent votes for. At its core, South Buffalo is made up of cops, firemen, and public employees, and I think we do well there. The same for Lackawanna. I think it's more winnable. When we ran for Congress 2 years ago, Dixon's campaign did not interfere with his job as supervisor. He said he expects this to be true again, as many of the time constraints, like going door to door or attending events, can easily be done in the evening or on weekends. I think we have a very winnable race. I think we will win it, Dixon said. It's going to be very interesting in Albany, which is majority Democrat. So we'll see. It'll be interesting getting to know the people in the other parts of the district. That's always one of the things I like most about campaigning, the door-to-door and meeting people. Holland Town Board recognizes Miller. The Town of Holland Board recognized Erie County Sheriff's Deputy Shane Miller during their regular meeting Wednesday, February 11th. Miller was honored by the 5-member Holland Town Board, consisting of Town of Holland Supervisor Geoffrey Hack, along with council members Karen Klein, Bill Kalecki, Dan Latito, and Lynn Roth, with a proclamation recognizing his service to the community through the Erie County Sheriff's Office 6-member Community Engagement Team, which is comprised of deputies responsible for addressing the public safety concerns of citizens in Erie County towns and villages. The Sheriff Office patrols, launched in 2024 by Erie County Sheriff John Garcia. The CET's coverage area includes the rural towns of Holland, Alma, Marilla, and Wales. that do not have their own police departments. In addition to community events, the CET interacts with town supervisors, village mayors, school superintendents, and block clubs in the area, the Erie County Sheriff's patrols. One of the goals is to create a direct line of communication between citizens and deputies. In a statement highlighting Miller's recognition, the Sheriff's Office says Deputy Miller personifies the Erie County Sheriff's Office commitment to integrity, fairness, and professionalism. Former Holland Central School Resource Officer Dylan Dreyer also works alongside Miller on the CET. For more information on the CET, visit www.4, which is the number 4, erie.gov/sheriff. West Seneca student establishes African American Studies Club. This is by Eric Kepler. A big part of high school experience is participating in extracurricular or clubs. And if you can't find one that strikes your fancy, you can always start your own. That's the path taken by West Seneca East senior Ciara German, who established the African American Studies Club at her school. I feel like we don't learn enough about it, German said. There's so much to know about, and I wanted to make sure people could get information on it and get access to it. The club started out as a one-person idea in early October, and now, in February, which is also Black History Month, the group has grown to more than 25 students. African American students are underrepresented in our district, said club advisor Ashley Suppresson, an 18-year-old teaching veteran of history and English as a second language. This gives them a chance to have their voices heard and learn more about their culture. The whole process of starting a club was quicker than German imagined. The first step was securing an advisor, and German knew who she wanted from the start. Mr. Sorensen was my 9th grade history teacher, German said. I looked up to her, and I knew she also runs the International Club. She knows a lot about history, and I knew she was the perfect person. German also had to go before school administration and give a presentation on the subject and her plans for the group going forward. Ciara came to me in October, Sorensen said. I was super impressed that Ciara was so passionate about this. She saw it as a gap, something that was missing, and she wanted to bring it to the students. She was relentless. She had a great presentation, and she spent a lot of time trying to recruit kids and spread awareness. I think it's fantastic. The perception of Africa is often that it is one big mass and that it's all the same. But nothing could be further from the truth. Africa is a vast, culturally diverse continent with over 3,000 distinct ethnic groups and 2,000 languages, reflecting a multitude of traditions that are often shaped by their local environments. So it's not surprising that the group has a wide range of focus that includes a variety of sports, history, culture, food, music, literature, and holidays. Ciara has the vision, Sorensen said. She comes to me every month before our meeting and shares what topics she wants to cover. Then we design posters to promote our events and secure classroom space or anything else she needs. East Seniors is traditionally a very strong supporter of Black History Month. History teacher Carol Wellgross and her Co-Kappa National Honor Society annually plan numerous events and activities throughout the month of February to spotlight African Americans throughout history. And then, last year, science teacher Emily Cataldo and the school's science club fashioned a periodic table of Black history in one of the school's main hallways, highlighting past and current African Americans and their accomplishments. Sorensen acknowledged that many of the club's members this year are seniors, but she still feels like it's sustainable over the long term, as long as it can provide events and material that allow students to feel invested. German noted that there are some underclassmen in the group, and they're already talking about things they'd like to do next year. We want to make sure that all voices are heard, German said. We want people to be able to learn about Black history. We want more people to come and join, and for kids to leave the club knowing more about African history and culture than they did before. Teen of the Week. This week's Team of the Week is Reagan Vance, a senior at Chickawaga Central High School. Reagan has been described as honest, reliable, and thoughtful student on the path of becoming a phenomenal woman. For the last 3 years, Reagan has involved in extracurricular activities such as the Student Council, African American History Club, and the Ambassadors Club. In her freshman year, she was on the JV cheerleading team and in the Student Against Destructive Decisions, or SAD Club. She has also been on the tennis team and his unified sports team throughout the duration of high school. The unified sports team combines athletes with and without intellectual disabilities on the same team to promote inclusion. Paired with the unified sports team in a leadership class she began taking in her senior year. Reagan currently works for the Adopted Recreation Program, a program that provides clubs, social groups, day camp, and swimming for developmentally disabled people ages 5 and older. She works as a special needs counselor, where she assists in making sure everyone gets the chance to learn and participate in different sports. The program has a variety of sports and a mini camp on weekends. Reagan has been working there for the last 4 years. Reagan works well with groups and takes on a leadership role. Her patience and understanding of those who learn differently stands out. She is always on time and she's responsible, said LaSharita Bradbury, a teacher at Chickawaga Central High School. In her spare time, Reagan also volunteers at her church. She helps to create a comfortable environment in the church and helps with providing food for the community. During the summer, she acts as a camp counselor for the summer camp at Chickawaga Town Park. After high school, Reagan wants to attend SUNY Fredonia to major in social work with a minor in psychology. Once she graduates with her bachelor's degree, she plans to get her master's degree at the University of Buffalo with the dream of becoming a family therapist. B Newspapers, in conjunction with a sponsor, will showcase exceptional seniors in 9 of our communities as Teen of the Week. The highlighted student will be conscientious, hardworking, and self-motivated individuals who continue to better their communities. These students exceed expectations and are enthusiastic learners. One student will be awarded a scholarship at the end of the 2025-26 school year. Free Fishing Day set for 2026. The last weekend marked New York's first 2 free fishing days when the requirements for a freshwater fish license is waived across the state. The 2026 free fishing days also include June 27th and 28th, September 26th, which coincides with National Hunting and Fishing Day, and November 11th, Veterans Day. Free fishing days provide the perfect opportunity for residents and visitors to affordably explore, unplug, and get outside, Hochul said, adding that the activity of fishing supports tourism, benefits the economy, and promotes physical and mental health. DEC's Free Fishing Days program began in 1991 to introduce new anglers to freshwater fishing and encourage participation in conservation. While fishing licenses are waived on free fishing days, all other fishing regulations remain in effect. Anglers aged 16 and older must carry a valid license on all other days. The DEC offers several resources for beginners, including the I Fish New York Beginner's Guide to Freshwater Fishing, a video series on DEC's YouTube channel, and Places to Fish web pages that provide trip planning information. The agency's mobile app, Hunt Fish New York, includes the tackle box, a map-based tool with fishing regulations, boating access, and fish stocking information. For more information, visit www.dec.ny.gov. State launches Express New York to improve efficiency. Governor Kathy Hochul recently announced the launch of Express New York, a statewide initiative aimed at reducing outdated regulations and streamlining government processes to improve how New York delivers services and completes major projects. The program, short for Expediting Process and Regulations to Enable Streamlined Services, is a part of Hochul's 2026 State of the State agenda and focuses on identifying and eliminating unnecessary rules, fees, and procedures that slow approvals for businesses, housing, and public infrastructure. Hochul said the effort is intended to make government more efficient and responsive, noting that residents, small businesses, and local officials often face lengthy and complicated approval processes. In October, the governor directed state agencies to review their regulations and policies for potential reform or removal. Agencies have since identified nearly 100 regulations and practices that could be modernized, streamlined, or eliminated. Proposed changes include removing certain fees for small businesses, speeding occupational license renewals, digitizing paper-based systems, eliminating outdated rules, and reducing reporting requirements. The state has also launched a public portal allowing residents to submit ideas for cutting red tape. Submissions will be accepted through April 3rd. Officials said the initiative will prioritize recommendations that accelerate housing and infrastructure development, support small businesses, and simplify access to government programs such as health care, child care, and nutrition assistance. Hochul has also appointed a new Associate Director of Regulatory Reform within the Executive Chamber to oversee the initiative. State officials plan to meet with business owners, community leaders, local governments, and industry representatives in the coming weeks to gather feedback on regulatory challenges. Spindle items. This is by Justin Sullivan. School District Focus. West Seneca Central Superintendent Dr. Lisa Krieger is launching a series of facility focus groups to show residents firsthand what the district's proposed capital improvement project will address. Students, residents, faculty, and staff can learn about the scope of the project, which will be part of the May 19th school budget vote. Scholarships. The New York Conference of Italian American state legislatures is accepting applications for the four $3,000 scholarships, 2 academic and 2 athletic. Scholarships are available to residents of the 60th State Senate District who are current college students or high school seniors entering college. Students can access and complete the application by visiting https://www.nyacss.org/apply for scholarship form. The application deadline is Friday, March 13th. Applicants should have a grade point average of 85 or higher to be active in community service and extracurricular activities and demonstrate financial need. In addition to these qualifications, students applying for an athletic scholarship must also be involved in organized sports. Scholarship recipients will be announced in April. Spin it forward. The Buffalo and Erie County Public Library is asking the community to dust off their old LPs and help grow its vinyl collection through the Spin It Forward donation campaign. The library is accepting vinyl records in good condition, especially newer releases and albums by Western New York artists, to expand what patrons can borrow and help preserve the region's music scene. Donations can be dropped off at the Central Library in downtown Buffalo or at local library branches during regular hours. Officials encourage donors to check with their branch for details on accepted items. The campaign taps into vinyl ongoing comeback while giving music fans a chance to pass their records on to a new generation of listeners. The new year is off to a great start. This is by Joseph Kirchner, Director of the West Seneca Chamber of Commerce. We're less than 2 months into the new year, but I have to say that 2026 is off to a great start. On January 31st, we concluded a very successful community food drive, sponsored by Synchronet, in addition to providing food and personal care items to several food pantries and organizations, including the West Seneca Community Food Pantry, 14 Holy Helpers Food Pantry, Veterans Food Pantry, Plymouth Crossroads, and Fantastic Friends of Western New York. We also collected approximately $3,000 for the West Seneca Community Food Pantry. Thank you to all those who donated, and watch for our next drive in July. Our 1-minute networking event on January 8th at Western New York Federal Credit Union drew a large group of businesses and organizational leaders. After everyone in attendance had an opportunity to give a brief update at these meetings, we also have time to network, and that's where we can see new business relationships being made right in front of us. One local business owner who attended for the first time in a long time came into our office a few days later to tell us about the new business relationship and friendships that came out of the meeting. And that, in a nutshell, is what the Chamber is all about, building relationships. Although our beloved Buffalo Bills weren't in the Super Bowl, we ran 2 very successful square pulls and awarded a total of 20 prizes. Even better, we raised over $800 for the Chamber, a 501c nonprofit organization, and $1,600 for the annual Walk to End Alzheimer's, which I will once again participate in this fall. Our 79th annual Community Awards Dinner took place on February 11th at Koteki's Grandview Grove, and we presented awards to 7 incredible individuals, businesses, and organizations. Hats off to the crew at Koteki's for their excellent service. I can't wait to start planning our 80th anniversary event next year. We'll have to include some surprises since it will be a milestone year. It's our commitment in 2026 to have 3 events or activities every month, and that help promote and unite the West Seneca business community. You can visit our website at westseneca.org or follow us on Facebook for frequent updates on upcoming chamber events. While our calendar includes many small-scale events, our next big event is our annual Women in Business Breakfast, taking place on April 29th at Clarks Grove. Doors will open at 8 a.m. for registration, with guests having 1 hour to network, visit with vendors, and participate in a basket auction and raffle before a delicious breakfast is served at 9 a.m. For more information, please visit our website. From speaker events, vendor opportunities, and food and blood drives, to our annual vendor showcase, farmers market, golf tournament, and Birch Fest, the West Seneca Chamber of Commerce refers itself as Western New York's busiest Chamber of Commerce for a reason. There's always something going on, whether it's a breakfast event, luncheon, or evening gathering. If you'd like to learn more about the Chamber and the many benefits of Chamber membership, please stop by our office in the West Seneca Community Center and Library at 1300 Union Road. We're typically in the office from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. weekdays, or call us at 716-674-4900 to schedule an appointment. And before we move to our next paper, we'd like to tell you you're listening to Around Our Area on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And we move to The Sun, and this is the Friday, February 20th, 2026 edition. We move along to our first article. Early site work set to begin at Brad Hefner Senior and Community Center. Even with no delays in timeline, town extends lease with SUNY Erie for temporary center. This is by Chris Graham. If temperature can remain above the bone-chilling cold they've provided the last few weeks, early site work is expected to start at the Brett Hefner Senior and Community Center in the coming weeks. That was the first significant update on the work on the 4-acre site at 2982 Lakeview Road that will house the new 21,000 square foot center. Town engineer Cammie Jarrell said Restarteris Construction, the general contractor for the project, will start setting up the site in the next few weeks. You may start seeing fencing, snow being pushed around, and general setup of the site in the near future, Jarrell said. The town has been working with Square Engineering, DPC, the company providing construction management services on the center, on setting a schedule for when the project will be completed. Town officials have said, back to when a bond resolution of $9,034,700 was passed, that the hope was always to have the facility move-in ready by December. Town Supervisor Elizabeth Farrell Lorenz said that after those early meetings with Square Engineering, DPC, nothing in the timeline has changed yet. Even though there has been no shifts in the schedule, the town and SUNY Erie South, which has been temporarily housing the Youth, Recreation, and Senior Services Department and its programming in Building 4 of the campus since June, have agreed to a lease extension on a month-to-month basis, starting after the current lease expires at the end of December. Farrell Lorenz said the extension on the lease was finalized in the last 2 weeks. The town has been paying SUNY Erie $6,655 a month for use of the facility. This payment will remain the same in the extended agreement. We do have a backup plan, said Farrell Lorenz, about the lease extension. If there's any alteration at all, we wanted to be proactive about that. We wanted to be able to ensure our continuity of services. The town also recently approved $100,000 of the general fund to go to the Senior Community Center account. This will go toward the cost for items such as survey, benchmarks, material inspection and testing, and security measures. While town staff will complete work associated with certain aspects of the project to save costs, the town at times will engage outside vendors and or purchase materials related to expenses. It's so we can be on top of our timeline and needs as they arise in the process, said Farrell Lorenz about allocating the $100,000 into the account. There's a lot of moving pieces and items that come up, and we wanted to be responsive and not hamper the progress of our project manager or contractors as the needs arose. Frontier Superintendent floats idea of downsizing, BOE. This also is by Chris Graham. The Frontier Board of Education currently consists of 5 members, and that may become the norm in the future. The normally 7-member board has been down 2 members since the beginning of the year. In the middle of December, former trustee James Bodo told the board he would be departing to move closer to family in Ohio. Later that month, tragedy struck the board when the former trustee David Ceccarelli passed away from cancer-related health issues. Now, with 2 seats open, Frontier Superintendent Christopher Switek presented the board a plan to possibly downsize from a 7-member board to a 5-member board. The idea would be to maintain the continuity and consistency of the board, according to Board Vice President John Cordier. As it stands, 3 seats would be up for grabs in the May election. The term of Board President Dr. Mary Ann Costello is coming to an end and will carry a 4-year term. The other seats would be the remainder of Ceccarelli's term, which would be 2 years, and the final year of Voto's term. Switek said there is a very real situation where the board could see 3 new board members. He also said if the board were not to get enough candidates for the seats available, it would allow for write-in candidates to join the board. In last year's election, where 2 seats were up, Frontier had 3 candidates. It also presents a very interesting dilemma in regard to the stability of the board, the good things you've done for this board, and the relationship between this administration and the board. Cordier, who said he's begun to do a little research into the potential downsizing, said there are school districts, including the Kenmore-Tonawanda Union Free School District, that are larger than Frontier, that have 5 members on their board. Even Frontier itself was downsized before. Costello said around 2005 or 2006, the board downsized, going from 9 members to 7. She said when the board had 9 members, the district had a much larger enrollment. When the district centralized, the reason they had 9 was to represent the 9 different schools that were around the district, Costello said. They wanted everyone to have a voice. Should the board want to downsize, there would be a few steps to go through. The board would have to present a resolution to downsize, which would have to be approved by the board. If that would occur, the downsizing measure would be in place on the May election ballot for voters to decide if the board should go down to 5 members. Switek added that the resolution will be made clear to potential board candidates on what happens if the board goes down to 5 members or doesn't. You've given us something to think about, Costello said. In regard to the current 2 open seats, the board does have 90 days from the beginning of the year to fill those seats for the remainder of the academic year. Switek said in the past, these fill-ins have usually been taken by a former Frontier board member. He expected the seats to be filled by the board's second meeting in March. Hamburg BOE offered first look at 2026-27 budget projections. This also is by Chris Graham. The Hamburg Board of Education got some early projections on the 2026-27 budget, with an estimated spending plan of just over $92 million. The early estimate would see the budget rise by around $3.1 million from the 2025-26 spending plan, which was $88.9 million. Based on the governor's budget proposal, the district would see state aid at $35.6 million. This would be an over $1.6 million increase in aid from the 2025-26 school year of 5%. Most of that aid increase would be building aid. Because this is just a proposal, the numbers are subject to change. As it relates to foundation aid, which is part of the $35.6 million in state aid, that number would be a 1% increase, going from $21.1 million to $21.4 million. Of the 19 component districts in Erie, 1 BOCES, Hamburg is one of the 10 of the minimal 1% increase. Foundation aid usually sees between 2 and 2.5% increase. Hopefully, this number will change by the April run, said Business Administrator Christine Jongberg about the foundation aid increase. Last year, the district received a 2% increase in foundation aid. The early projections would also have the tax levy limit at $45.4 million. The tax levy for the 2025-26 budget was $44.5 million. It's also expected, as of now, that the district would use $2 million from the fund balance and $975,000 from reserves to balance the budget. The district is still working on the expenditure budget for 2026-27, but does have some early projections. The employee's retirement pension expense is increasing from 16.5% to 17.6%. The teacher's retirement system instructional pension expense is decreasing from 9.59% to 8.24%. Workers' compensation is decreasing by $90,578 based on a 3-year look-back. Utilities will decrease by $9,304 based on School Municipal Energy Consortium budgets, and debt service will increase by $1,368,875 due to the projected payments on the borrowing for the 2021 capital project. Transportation, which has been a talking point in the district all year, is expected to increase due to under-budgeting for the 2025-26 school year. Transportation was budgeted at the Consumer Price Index, but then went out to bid and became a larger increase. Total transportation costs for the 25-26 school year increased by around 20%. The district originally budgeted $5.3 million, but it's now spending $6.1 million. Fisher Bus Service, the district's current transportation partner, has until Sunday, May 15th, to let the district know if they've renewed at CPI. Trustee Jessica Reyna asked that if Fisher Bus Services renews at CPI, if that locks the district in to keeping them as a transportation provider. She cited there have been issues with invoices coming in and the experience families have had dealing with the company as it relates to the busing of students. Superintendent Thomas Adams said families have been remarkably patient with the issues that have occurred. He noted that Fisher Bus Service has added a site manager with a focus on the Hamburg Central School District. I'm as confident as I've ever been that we're going to have an improved customer experience with regard to transportation, Adams said. Adams said the district is still evaluating what it will do for bus service in the future, adding that Fisher Bus Service renewing at CPI would be helpful and help the district make its decision. Another early budget figure that board members questioned was no money being budgeted for the Erie County Transportation Aid for Students in Temporary Housing. In the 2025-26 budget, there was a one-time funding of $308,681. Jongberg said, no money is being budgeted because they will not even see the revenue that was budgeted for the previous year. The district is expected to have students that need this service for the 2026-27 school year. Erie County received some federal funding for transportation of students in temporary housing, but we received very little, Jongberg said. We applied for it and they say, no, not eligible. Jongberg said she's unsure why the district would not receive the funding this year. Our recourse has been consistent communication over last spring, where these funds that were under the impression that we, along with every other school district in the same situation, would be receiving, and there's none forthcoming, Adams said. It merits some more questions on my part of it. Trustee Mary Otten and Rena said they would be reaching out to the county and Erie County School Board Association about the matter. The March budget presentation will include enrollment data, staffing needs, draft expenditures as of Thursday, March 12th, and a discussion of the use of fund balance and reserves. New ambulance coming to the village of Angola. This also is by Chris Graham. After some discussion, the Angola Village Board approved the purchase of a Braun ambulance during its February 9th meeting. The measure was passed by a 4-1 vote, with Trustee William Ludwig casting the lone dissenting vote. Ludwig expressed concern about the amount the village has been spending, as he said this, along with the purchase of a new fire truck, will cost the village a little more than $1 million. Trustee Valerie Stamich told Ludwig the agreement is for a 6-year loan, with the first year being paid for with revenues generated from the cost of the current ambulance, which is almost 25 years old. The cost of the new ambulance will be $360,000 in general. Village Mayor Thomas Whalen said the board has seen a lot of growth in the community in recent years, and he believes it's important to make purchases like this to continue with that growth. The growth cannot come to a halt, Whalen said. It's about safety, and it's for our community. According to Whalen, despite the amount of money spent on upgrading various vehicles in the village, the overall tax rate has increased a total of 91 cents per thousand of assessed valuation over the last 4 years. The mayor added that he believes the village got a good deal on the ambulance, as the loan includes an interest rate of 4.4%. There is no time frame as to when the ambulance will arrive in the village. In another matter, the board awarded a bid of $14,500 to Zimmerman Enterprise of Buffalo to install concrete at Herman Park for the new fitness park. Whalen said the board received and opened a total of 15 bids for the project, and Zimmerman Enterprise came in with the lower bid. The board will hold its next regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. Monday, March 9th at the Angola Village Hall at 41 Commercial Street. FCSD gives early look at preliminary budget for 2026-27 school year. This also is by Chris Graham. Voters in the Frontier Central School District are still months away from casting a vote on the district's 2026-27 budget. But last week, Frontier administrators gave early projections on the spending plan for the next school year. The district will be looking at a projected operating budget of $117.9 million, an increase of $6 million on the 2025-26 budget, which is $111.9 million. Frontier Superintendent Christopher Switek noted that the projected numbers are very early in the process, as the district has not yet begun to break down costs or evaluate systems and personnel. It's expected the district, as it has in good years, will see increases in health insurance premiums, BOCES utilities, the Employees Retirement System, and Teachers Retirement System, and debt services. The Employees Retirement System expenses is expected to be around 17%, while the Teachers Retirement System expense is projected to be a little bit over 8%, Switek said. While the district did not have an early state aid projection, Switek did say foundation aid is currently projected at 1% increase. That's extremely low, said Switek, who noted that of the 19 component districts in the Erie 1 BOCES, 10 of them are at a minimum 1%. We're looking to get additional aid there. Foundation aid is usually between 2.3%, or between 2 and 2.5% increase. We're almost 45 days from solidifying our foundation aid, Switek said. Over the next 60 days, the district will finalize the staffing plan, review the BOCES budget, and break down the numbers for healthcare, retirement system payments, and workers' compensation. The next time the Frontier Board of Education and the public will be filled in on the budget will be at the board's meeting on Tuesday, March 3rd, when officials will present the first draft budget. This is also expected to include final calculations of the tax cap. Lakeshore Middle School focusing on writing. This is by Chris Graham. Stacy Conti, principal of Lakeshore Middle School, told Lakeshore Board of Education members that a student came up to her recently and asked why it felt like students were being asked to write more. Conti said as principal, she is putting a greater emphasis on basic sentence structure, believing it's an important skill to have no matter what career path someone chooses. During the Lakeshore board meeting held at Williams G. Houston Middle School earlier this month, Conti, along with Jeffrey Krause, assistant principal of the middle school, handed out a sheet of paper called a scramble, in which members of the board, along with some members of the audience, were asked to use the skills learned to try one of 3 examples and put sentences in the correct order, based partly off knowing the topic given to them. She said it isn't uncommon to see students who struggle with writing, and she feels the scramble exercise is helpful to students. It brings it back to the basics, Conti said. Writing is consistently a concern. Conti noted that initiative, which began almost a year ago after collecting data analysis along with surveys from families, students, and faculty, is progressing as they follow the principles found in a book called The Writing Revolution. She said last summer, nearly 30 teachers across all types of curriculum participated in learning the principles from the book. Conti stressed that this book isn't just for teachers who teach English, but also math, social studies, and other curriculum, because writing is an everyday skill that she wants students to grow with, stressing it will help them become better communicators. Students know they are probably going to be doing a lot of writing, she said, and she feels the results of the scramble have been positive to date. She is hopeful that the improvement in writing will also transfer to helping students do better on assignments and testing. Teachers can see improvement, and it's showing up in ELA studies, Conti said. According to Conti, students are laser focused on writing and added that the district has a teacher assigned to focus on Native American students. Krause added he is seeing more comprehensive responses, not only for schoolwork, but even for such things as teacher appreciation forms. Decides to leave unoccupied board seat open until May. This is by Chris Graham. The Hamburg Board of Education will operate as a 6-member board, at least for now. In January, Laura Heater, who had served on the board for 12 years, stepped down from the position due to circumstances changing in her private life. Her departure left the board with 6 members. With an open seat, the board was left with 3 options on what to do about the vacancy. The first would be to hold a special election to fill the remaining of Heater's term. Second would be to appoint someone to the seat up until May election. And the third would be to leave the seat open and operate as a 6-member board. At its February meeting, the board decided to go with option 3 of leaving the seat open with continuing to operate as a 6-member board. Because of how long it would take to schedule a special election, and with an election for trustee seats coming up in May, Board President Cameron Hall said the special election option didn't make much sense. As far as appointing someone to the seat, Trustee Thomas Flynn said that the exact occurrence has happened twice while he's been on the board, said the process would involve canvassing the community about filling the seat, receiving letters of interest, interviewing the candidates, and then appointing an individual after board discussion. In the past instances, which happened much earlier in the academic year, Flynn said this process took 2 to 3 months. Considering this time frame in this instance, we felt the individual would only get 1 month before the election. Now operating as a 6-member board, the situation exists where there is no one to provide a tie-breaking vote, as was noted by Thomas Ashley Rapinski. Hall said this wouldn't be a huge concern for the board, saying there hasn't been much discussion in votes over the years. The board would still operate in voting measures as a 7-member board, meaning 4 votes would be needed to pass any item. Heater's departure also left another void on the board, who serves as vice president. The answer to that question is Trustee Jessica Reyna. Reyna, who joined the board last year, was appointed to serve as vice president of the board until the completion of the 2025 school year, 25-26 school year. You've been listening to Around Our Area, a weekly look at community newspapers from around Western New York. Your reader for this hour has been Sally Herzog. Thank you so much for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Ampol Eagle. At 4 o'clock, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. And following that, at 5 o'clock, we have the Lockport Union Sun and Journal. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print